I'm putting the graphic up. When it comes down, you're live. Oh, shoot.
Elevator down.
You got disabled over here. Okay.
Where'd Kelly go? Where'd Kelly go? Oh, we lost Kelly.
I'll bring her back in. There she is.
Okay.
We're rolling, Kelly.
She's on mute too. Frozen for posterity's sake, right there.
I believe she's frozen.
Yeah, at least she doesn't have her mouth open.
Okay, she should be coming back in.
There she is.
Okay. Are you there, Kelly? Kelly, you might have to log out and then I'll bring you back in. If you can hear me. There's a Chris Earthel. That's
Erdl.
Yeah, that's correct.
okay.
There's Chris.
Okay, we're on. Chris, is everybody hear us now?
Yep.
Yes.
That's a yes. Avia?
Yes. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put the graphic back up when we come
Okay.
out. Okay.
Okay, Kelly, you're up.
All right. Hi. Take two. Public Works Committee meeting, July 17th. It is 12:56. And we are gathered here today to discuss the general right-of-way ordinance. Present is Rob Bartlett, committee member, Abby Graves, committee member, John Scherbenberg, know-it-all, Marcy Lewis, Councilmember extraordinaire, and the wonderful and knowledgeable Chris Erdl, village engineer.
Oh, you're leaving me out of it?
Oh, yeah, and Bill,
No cameo. There you go.
the mayor. Okay, so we were provided a sample general right-of-way ordinance by Frost Brown Todd for the village of Marble Cliff, Ohio. A nice 40-page document that he recommended we utilize as our template. And I don't know, hope everybody's had the opportunity to go through this. And we're going to discuss possible changes to it, how we feel about the document in general, and whether to proceed with having this be the ordinance prepared for the Village of Mariemont as our right-of-way document. So that said, I am going to turn the floor over to Chris, since he is referenced in this document a lot of times.
Yeah.
So, and him being a professional engineer, I'd like to give him the opportunity first to make his comments on the document.
Quick question before you go, Chris. Kelly, did you check with them to see if they had a simpler version for another community?
Yes, actually, we were provided the ordinance for Dublin, Ohio, which was a 7-page. And I spoke with Jack yesterday, Jack Hemingway at Frost Brown Todd, regarding that. And he said that is a shorter document. However, behind that document are about 100 pages of additional, additional guidelines.
Okay.
So, and we kind of thought that might be something we'd rather not get ourselves involved in. And he did strongly recommend that this be the document that we go by.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had hoped for the same of you, but
Yeah.
nope.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I would be very interested in the smaller one too. This is a very robust document. They cover a lot of different angles with the right of way. Everything to what we call construction coordination or utility coordination, where we have to basically make an inventory of who's in our right of way. And then whenever they want to access it, they have to come and tell us first before we even authorize a permit. And then in doing so, we would tell them how to cut open the right of way or the street, and then how to restore it. It goes into detail about how we would figure out like a franchise fee based on how much miles of pipe a utility would have,
Yeah.
based on the area or the length of the village streets. Do that math every year to tell them how your franchise fee is going to work. And then they do the same thing with the permit fees. Basically how many permit fees you have, or how much permits you do a year, and the average cost, and how much staff time it takes, and divide that out. So to do all that, there'd obviously be a lot of work involved to set this up. So I guess we should probably break it down into pieces and have maybe smaller meetings on each piece to see where we want to go, or what's more interesting to us than others. Are we more concerned with just when we cut the road and how it's restored, the asphalt put back or the yard put back, something like that? Or do we actually want to get involved in the utilities business of, how much franchise fees they earn, and if it's respectable to how much footage they have in the village, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because in section 95.05, it talks about the compensation and the breakdown of how that can be calculated. And it is indeed arduous at best. I guess Chris, as a question to that, if we do decide to pursue this method of calculation, who gets the pleasure of doing that?
That's a good question. I don't think, my suggestion would be that we ask the utility companies that are within our borders to provide us with the information as far as how many facilities you have in the village. And then we use that to, then probably I would do the calculation of, I can figure out how many miles of pavement we have, and if that's where we want to go, and then ride that out and make sure that's legal, and then move on from the next topic.
Can I make a suggestion? I think there are still parts of things like Dublin's got a very simple section about permit fees. And that's where I would ask Frost Brown, can we just cut that and paste it into here? Because they don't recalculate it every year. They have a set fee for the annual fee and a set fee for the, when they're applying for the application, the application for the stuff. And then they talk about this also. So it's in 98.07 of Dublin's right-of-way process. And it's literally like it's not even a full page. And it just lays out a process that is one and done. It gives you the flexibility to come back and update it whenever you want to. And it also says things like, hey, you can't charge more than it actually costs us. And so it's not nearly as detailed. And that's one of the ones I was wondering if we could just, again, ask Frost Brown Todd, can we just cut and paste some of that stuff in? instead?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is worth asking the question.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Something that we have to recalculate every year seems to be onerous. I don't think we
Right,
want to
right.
do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now and it does seem a lot more simplistic. So I will ask Jack that question, if we can replace the section in Marble Cliff with the Dublin calculation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like we're the city of Cincinnati or Columbus or something where we need to
So we
get
would have-
crazy with this calculation.
Well, they would have a complete department staff to calculate it every year. We really don't.
Yeah. Well, and then who do you assign that task? I mean, that's a lot to ask of Chris.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because right now, the way I understand everything works, it kind of runs the permits through the building department or the building commissioner.
Yeah.
And that's acceptable, certainly, because I think that person is on site, on staff, 8 to 5 or 8 to noon or something like that, where, if you wanted me to do it, I could, but I could not be here 8 to 5 during the day. It had to be some other system. So, or we get a clerk or one of the, if Joni or if they could handle it. Allison,
yeah.
thank you. If Allison could handle it, brain freeze.
yeah,
Can I ask, do we want to, because I think you're bringing up some really good points. And rather than jump through, can we just go through page by page and say if anybody has any comments on the Marble Cliff one? Because I agree with you. There's parts in there where there's a fiscal officer and it's like, no, that doesn't make sense for us. But I think if we go through it page by page, it may help us to figure out what
Okay.
parts need to maybe.
yeah, I
change.
just want to give Chris the opportunity, if there are other questions prior to doing that might help us get through that quicker. Give him the opportunity to ask those. I mean,
Okay.
Chris has
Yeah.
got a lengthy document here with a number of questions, so
Okay.
you might be able to answer some of those or ask some of those before we actually go through all 41 pages of this.
Yeah, it was kind of like the highlights. There were some questions, there were some things that I liked, one of the things they had in this, page 29 or 30, they've got a 12-month waiting period after we repair a road that we're basically they're not allowed to be cut. And that sounds great to me. We get finished with Petoskey. We don't want any utility coming in for 12 months, ideally for 3 years or something like that. So that's definitely a good thing to do if we don't have it now.
Yeah, and I, to be honest, I don't have that many questions. So Chris, yeah, you lead us in this process, no doubt. And so I just want to let you know, I don't have a ton of questions. I just,
Okay.
but there are some, there's a few. Like you said, roles and responsibilities, one of the things I think we need to do.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's good, Rob. Let's actually do that. My notes start at page 9 because there were a lot of definitions in the first
Yep.
about 4 or 5 pages.
So is that 9502 then, when it starts?
Let's
Section 9502? Is that where you are?
Page. So I did it by page numbers.
Yeah, mine didn't print out the page numbers. I don't know why they did.
Yeah, this is the PDF.
Well, I
pages.
just wrote them on.
Let me see.
9502 starts with right-of-way administration.
I'll do that, Avia. Give me just a second.
Thank you.
Get on.
Because one of the questions I have for Frost Brown also in this is just, the wording's it's not clear to me if people are grandfathered in or not also. Because we say we have, like you were saying, Chris, we have to go off and get an inventory of everybody who's using it, which makes sense.
Mhm.
But I'm not from the fee standpoint, quite honestly, from the fee standpoint, is everyone grandfathered in or not?
Yeah, because I think they kind of started with establishing a fee for your kind of your permission to be in the right of way. And then you had to re-up that every year. And I don't think we're interested in going with that idea. I think it's more of if they come in to do any work, we want to know about it and permit that and then charge for that.
No, I think we're actually interested in an annual fee.
Are you? Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to
At least
know.
I don't know. Actually, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't want to speak.
Well, what we've got, okay, so we've got the permit fee, which will be a one-time payment to get the permit. And then an annual, oh, stop. And then an annual fee thereafter.
Right. And that is how both Dublin and Marble Cliff are both structured.
Right. That is correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Avia and Kelly, how do you guys feel about that?
You mean it's like we can establish one set annual fee?
Yeah.
A hell of a lot easier, a heck of a lot easier, sorry.
Well, I think you'd still have an application fee, and then once
Oh,
they
yeah. Oh, yeah,
then have an annual ongoing fee too.
right. Oh, yeah, definitely gonna have both. One
Okay.
doesn't replace the other.
Okay, I didn't know where you guys felt about it. Avi, how do you feel?
That seems to make sense.
Did we not pass a thing when Don first started about permit fees for the utility companies?
Good question, John. Who can answer that?
Yeah.
Is it?
Um,
Yeah.
So, well, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I think we're all gonna say the same thing. So the question is, there's a permit fee and an application fee. And then the
Okay.
annual, right? Is that,
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
annual fee would be new. The permit, we've always had a permit fee.
right? Right, and the
But we always
annual,
had, we had a permit fee, but we did never charge the utility companies. And I thought it wasn't until Don got in that we started to set up a thing for the utilities that started to have to pay to open up the streets and that for their permits.
I think it was
Or did we not pass that? You're
Dolly
fine.
P. John, how long ago do you think you're talking?
Probably sometime within Don's first couple of years that he was here.
so. John, I do remember. I think it was for cutting open. I thought there was something. I do remember something. I wasn't on council at the time, but I remember watching some of that where there was a discussion about cutting open. But I don't know that there was an application fee for this kind of stuff for the right of way for doing the work in the right of way. I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's easy to ask.
Yeah.
So you're saying specific to the right of way as opposed to.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime a utility company came in, I thought Don was starting to charge them now.
That does sound familiar because the Petoskey permit that went out to Duke Energy, they had to pay for that permit. I don't know if it was a couple, $200, $300 or something like that, but
Is that the
there
one
was a
you sent
fee.
me that?
But again,
So, but that would be the permit / application fee. I think what we're talking about now is there would actually be an annual fee to the utility just to be in the village right away.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that starts at 9503. Basically, to register to be in the right of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the sample of the certificate of zoning and plan approval. $200 to Duke for the work on Petoskey.
Okay.
So this, but just to educate me, this permit is for the actual
work.
project altogether. This would be the one permit.
That's the
Okay.
only time they would need to come see us in person in the office was to take out a permit to do the work. And then they've got, as it states in that permit, they've got between May 30th of this year, May 30th of next year to do the work. And then there's a couple limits to that. They got to call the inspector when they're finished for kind of a completion check. And then the working hours are stated.
Okay.
And then, so I would like to actually include, maintenance of traffic or something like that in here. Petoskey's not as critical as something like Wooster Pike, but
Right.
I think we should still have some kind of standard, and it could be just like what we have for the street contracts where, if you're going to block the roadway, you need to call Chief Hines and get it scheduled with him a day in advance, and then you're fine because it ran through somebody at the village.
Right, but the onus will be on them to reach out for traffic control.
Correct.
Okay.
That makes all the sense in the world to me, Chris. I agree.
Okay. Chris is looking at his questions.
Yeah, I'm kind of starting with the annual fee. So halfway through 95.03, they get the bodily energy, I guess it's the liability statement. So my understanding, this would be the liability insurance that the utility would have to be in our right of way.
Okay, so yeah, so you're down at section 5, 95.035. Satisfy the requirements for comprehensive liability coverage, automobile liability coverage, and umbrella coverage as follows.
Right.
Okay. Avia, did you get it?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like they're providing different ways that they can do that then.
Is there a concern about the amount, you think, or?
No, I mean, I don't know, because if you think about this is similar. It's a little bit less than what we're talking. Remember Kelly and our finance committee with the liability coverage?
Right.
It's a little bit lower than what we have for that, but that's for the whole village and this is for a specific project. So,
Once these companies get big, then they don't have to carry the liability insurance. They can self-insure. We need to make sure that they have audited financial statements for the previous years
Okay.
to know that they have adequate
Yeah, assets to cover it.
adequate equity to cover it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we would have to review this to see what the utility needs to submit to us every year to maintain their annual presence, I think. They mentioned about, well, Bill was just saying if the utility gets big enough, I guess they can be self-insured
Yeah.
instead of, getting a policy. But we would have to take a look at it says here, audited financial statements to prove that they're big enough to have those cash reserves
They have equity to cover.
to cover.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something we want to check or if we just make that a requirement and they just check the box, and that's something to think about. Maybe with other liabilities, it's easier just to say you have to meet it, otherwise you have to get your stuff out of our village.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that question. We can have the conversation, but,
Yeah,
Rob, go ahead, Rob.
I was just saying, Chris, you bring up a really good point. I hadn't thought about this. So I guess the question is this on just when the work is going on, or is this an ongoing insurance?
I think this is ongoing. I think this is part of that annual fee to be in the right of way. You have to maintain insurance at this level. And if you don't, there's going to be some, we'll send you a nasty gram and there'll have to be some discussions to make sure it's there, because they're not going to want to pull their utilities out of the village, and we probably won't want them to do that either.
Right.
But we need to make sure that,
As long
everybody's
as,
covered.
as long as they have a presence, they
Yeah,
have to have coverage.
that well said. Yeah.
Any penalty fees if they pull it, if they don't? Do we add penalty fees?
That's something to discuss. Yeah, if they fall below this level and we find out about it, is there a penalty, or, do we just lawyer up and say, hey, you need to increase your liability insurance or your cash reserves to handle this? I'm not, maybe that's an Ed question.
No, well, again, I think it's a Jack question.
Okay, there you go.
Just because I think, I would hate to have Ed have to try and go through all this thing, we've all gone through. It's like, oh my God, he'd have to start at ground zero.
Yeah, so you're right. It's a solicitor question. I should say that,
Yeah.
whether it's Frost Brown Todd or Ed, or that's the question for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do mention PUCO, FCC, and those kind of bodies. So that may be a way to get that insurance liability met. is to get some filing from them, which maybe we may be able to do publicly. You know, if we need to look that up, I'm sure Duke is filed with PUCO for other things. You know, maybe that's a way we can get the information.
Okay, so it's upon request of the village, a narrative, or if applicable, PUCO, FCC, what's FER? What's that? I don't know.
That I do not know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
FERC.
FERC, yeah.
FERC. Application information describing applicants' proposed activities in the village, including credible information detailing applicants' financial, managerial, and technical ability to fulfill applicants' obligations under Chapter 95 and carry on applicants' proposed activities. So that's this section in regards to the comment you just made about PUCO. Okay.
Yeah, maybe there is
So-
a file place for that. We would just need to check that.
Okay.
Well, I would just put the onus on them.
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I think anything we can pass on to their responsibility is better. Well, as long as we have a check, right, exactly. Yeah, let's not give them too much the benefit of the doubt.
No, but if they have something with PUCO, then instead of us going to PUCO and asking for it, let them.
Right.
Okay, here,
Mhm.
show us what you got.
Okay.
What else you got, Chris? Is there other stuff so far?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I try to, you know, pick out the highlights, but it was kind of, since let's see. So it starts, I'm almost there. It's my page 14. Let me see if I can find the section for you. But they mention each provider in the right-of-way shall furnish their repair plan for the year around January 1st. And the village engineer shall respond that the village plans to do what we plan to do for the upcoming year. So it's a construction coordination type issue, which I'm all in favor for. You know, it'd be great if the utilities could tell us what they're going to do in the year. Typically, we know what we're planning to do the year before. So I've got no issue with that. Usually it's just hard to get the information out of the utility.
Right, so that we don't tear the road up twice.
Exactly.
So at the start of 9504 reporting requirements, it talks about, and again, the Marble Cliff uses the fiscal officer a lot, and I don't know that that would be consistent with what we would do. I don't think so. Chris, I would like your thoughts about, do you think this is you, or do you think it's Don? Because I guess that's the question is, you know, Tony's not going to get involved in terms of the maintenance plan. I think that's actually maybe the section you're talking about. Filing a construction and maintenance plan with the village fiscal officer. Well, Tony's not going to know what to do with it. So
Yeah, that should go to the building commissioners.
Yeah, because that was one of my
Oh,
comments,
yeah.
is it the fiscal officer or is it the building department? Right.
sounds like building commissioner.
We
or-
need to talk to Don about that.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah,
It's definitely not Tony.
it's not the fiscal officer. I would suggest it starts with the building commissioner, just because they're here at the building. And then I can certainly be involved if needed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, there's a couple places where it's referenced, the fiscal officer can decide if there's can be quarterly payments and whatnot. But other than that, I think the building commissioner is the best replacement for where it references fiscal officer in general.
Makes sense to me. I agree.
Let's see. So a little bit further on, they go into the mapping of the utilities, and that they should be provided to us at the very least that a paper map or if electronic is possible, that would be better. That's just really how they want to give us the information, you know, where the utilities are and then what they're doing for the year. We used to ask for it in a format of read from and to for locations. Sometimes it's better to have an address. That's something I think we can just get into the weeds by, but that's just how they would get furnished the information.
Does it say that's but that's our decision, how they provide it, right? Or, I mean, the village is supposed to.
Yeah, because I think what they're getting at is this is more of where are your facilities throughout the village? so that we could kind of calculate that annual fee based on how much space you're taking up.
Yeah.
So if they only have it in paper, we'll take it in paper. If they can get it to us electronic, we'll take the electronic as long as it's not too cumbersome. I think it's what they have is, yeah, paper by default. If electronic is too complicated, I think is what it says.
Yeah. And then your comment about address versus,
Street from and to.
yeah,
Yeah, that's just how they give it to us.
I agree with the address because it can get kind of goofy. It's like, where is technically is your end of Indian View? Just give us, you know,
Mhm.
3810 Indian View. Yeah. Okay.
So. Yeah, so the next part I'm coming to is the formula for the village to calculate all costs associated with managing the right of way from the previous year.
Yeah, and again, I don't think we want to do that every year type of thing.
Yeah, so maybe we have to do this calculation once to start it rolling, and then maybe we can rewrite it to say, we'll adjust it every 3 years or upon need.
Yeah. What the Dublin thing says is just says it may be modified or adjusted or waived. You know, that's it. It just, it gives the flexibility. It does. So I like that. I like that, you know, you got flexibility about when you update it. It just says such fees must remain reasonable and non-discriminatory, and the total revenues should not be more than the reasonable allocation of the total cost of the planning. So
So at this point, we'd rather insert the Dublin language into this one.
Yeah, I think that's,
yeah, for both the permit fee and the ongoing fee.
Okay.
how big is Marble Cliff? Does anybody know? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just, yeah. Let's find out. Oh, geez.
I'll Google it.
You Google it, I'm getting, okay. Thanks.
175 acres.
Okay.
Population 733.
Oh,
No, wait, 733,
That's what it says.
and then they have this?
Wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
I thought you were gonna tell me it was like 7,000. Or-
Nope. Per Google, 733 population. It's a village in Franklin County, Ohio.
700 plus people.
It's grown because at the 2010 census, it was 573.
Woo, that's crazy.
So.
Wow, okay, well, that was not the direction I thought that was gonna go.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to do this, but I have to drop off. I have a meeting that I have to get on. So
Okay.
just
understand.
you need me for anything, obviously follow up, but
Yeah, well, you know, one of the benefits of doing the Zoom meeting is this is all recorded, so that is one silver lining of the pandemic.
yeah, no, I wouldn't, but it's like this important, meeting with the global leadership team of my company.
Yep.
Anyway,
Okay.
right.
You're excused.
All right. Bye guys.
Permission
Yeah.
granted. Jeez, we're only on page 19.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
what else you got, Chris?
The next thing I have is about, I'm trying to find, I think it's 9506. I think it's under confidentiality. Village engineer may suggest an increase in restoration requirements if backed by council. Then a meeting must be held with the providers. So this goes, when they do open cut a street, how do we want them to replace it? The usual standard is, well, put back what you find. If we want something different, or if we want to specify exactly what they are to put back, this would be the chance to do it.
Yeah, because, in the past, we've had a problem with them putting streets back. We've had a problem with them, if they dig a hole in the middle of the road, we've had a problem with them just doing a proper asphalt patch. So we really need to get into
Yes.
what, it's not so much specify, I mean, they know what to do. The question is making them do it.
Yeah, holding them to it.
Holding them to it. That's the problem.
Can you guys hear Bill?
Can-
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's because we don't have a timeline for them, except for our ordinance. It says, they got a year to restore it. And like I told Don, if on our permits, we ought to have it that they, after completion, they have 30 days to come back to get it back to where restored all within the 30 days. But then they have the whole year in case anything settles or we get sinkholes that they still have to come back to repair.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There should be a definite timeline.
Okay. Thanks, John.
So I think it's the. So I've got around page 20, we get into civil forfeitures. This was just if the equipment is not in good shape, the village can take action against the provider. I don't know if that's it. We need to discuss that. It makes sense. It's just, would we be aware of it?
Yeah, well, look at Duke Energy's wiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's getting old.
It's past.
There's civil forfeitures. Let's see.
I mean, if you don't,
Now, will we be taking some of our ordinance that we have for like underground utility provisions, like under the 5202 that we have about the wiring in the public and private areas that they're supposed to be installed underground, unless it's in the area that was after 1941 or whatever it was. Like over in Cambridge that have it overhead. Like this last group, we required them all to put in underground utility. But the boxes, I don't know if we can specify the color of the boxes and stuff.
That would be under the,
Yep.
that's under the design guidelines, I think, the colors and stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
all
but,
right.
right, the design guidelines for the 5G though.
Well, it's not just 5G. That's not a design line for 5G only. It's just design
And then
guidelines.
we need to change the name.
Yeah, because some of those new underground vaults that they just installed when they strung the connecting cable between the two, is that what you're talking about, John?
Yeah, some of the people were wondering if we can make them put in a different color.
Well, of course, what I suggested they do, because those boxes are just fiberglass, I mean, and they're at ground level, they can just
Right.
paint the lids.
Does this limit us?
Wireless communication facilities, I don't know those things, because that was a fiber optic cable that was it's kind of.
We're just
related
looking to
that.
see if, you know, the guidelines that were created, if they need to be changed to more appropriately affect the whole utilities, not just the wireless communications facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, should we change this design guidelines to more general coverage?
I think that'd be appropriate. I
Okay,
mean, the front page, if it still is this way, design guidelines for wireless communication facility, you can just say design guidelines for utility facilities.
okay.
Hmm.
Well, we're gonna need to, yeah, because this has been posted,
Yeah, that's okay. It is
Yeah.
good. That's what
but
you
we,
needed for
I don't
the
know if
peak.
we need to repost it if we change the name,
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
but that's easy to do. Okay. Well, that would help. Rather than having to write a whole separate set of guidelines, we can just make these more general.
Yeah.
For the design guidelines that everybody got last week that were posted on the website, that's what we're referring to.
Right.
So just change the name to utilities, to utility facilities, not wireless communication facilities. It's an easy fix.
Mhm. And John, to your point about underground, there is a paragraph in here somewhere about if the utilities are underground now, they are to remain underground.
Mhm.
If they are above ground, then they're allowed to be where they are right now. So we'll find that, maybe we want to tweak that.
You know,
Did you find it?
when Bob Rich reviewed this for us, he mentioned the underground thing. He referenced something 9313, not in this document,
gonna
but
say.
it might be in our code.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
that we do want to, what he's saying is, obviously, we want to insist that any underground utility remain an underground utility, and any additions or options being added in an underground area must, of course, be put underground.
She just moved it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look at that.
We can look at that, yeah, and see if
Okay.
it's in our code.
Okay. So a few sections later, transfer of certificate of registration. So unfortunately, communication companies are known for buying each other out. So we would just want to know when that happens so that we can still keep track of who's in our right of way. And so I don't think that's an issue. That's just well
Right,
said.
yeah, because it says with prior, assignment or transfer approval required. Prior consent, written prior consent of the village.
So if somebody came in to buy Verizon, we would know of that up front and consent to it.
Well, we
Yeah.
can drive that, right? We can't say, oh, no, you can't buy Verizon. We said so, it's not going to be us controlling that, but
Yeah, but it's still good to know who owns
It's-
what.
no, totally agree with that. Totally agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it is interesting from the lawyer standpoint is how do you do that? Because you're right, Rob, that's only FCC can do that.
Now it's the whole village.
I thought there was a section, I thought there's something in here about, if they're purchased in whole or something like that too. I can't remember.
In that assignment or transfer of ownership section, Rob 95.12.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
This is interesting. Village may conduct a public hearing on the request within 30 days of such determination if it determines that the sale or transfer adversely affects the village. Yeah, okay. So who figures that out? I mean, then you're trying to define adversely.
Yeah. And again, the way it's worded, it's optional. It's not required. So.
Right.
And besides that, you're not gonna
And then good luck with that, right?
work with that. You're not gonna stop that.
Yeah. Well, you can try.
Well, as long as the new acquiring company meets the requirements, they're good.
Let's see. I've got one here about construction permit. I think this is another one where the village fiscal officer will be changed to the building commissioner. And then it restates, no construction shall take place without a permit. That just makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I made that note to change that for
Okay.
village fiscal officer.
Let's see.
You're looking at,
Of course,
And then later in that in that section, it references village engineer. So you're good with where it says that, Chris? That's 95.13.
yeah, he's looking at, we're looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This goes, yeah. So to me, the way we could leave it as village engineer, as long as the building commissioner could read the documents that they're sent for the permit. If they need help with those documents, then I'd be happy to come in and do that.
Okay. That sounds good.
And or then, make it as an and or.
Oh, that's a good idea. And or. Yeah, I think they do mention someone of other technical experience, so.
All drawings, plans, and specifications submitted with application shall comply with applicable technical codes, rules, and regulations to be certified in such compliance by trained technical personnel. I'm out.
Acceptable.
Acceptable
Yeah.
to the, so not necessarily you are the personnel, but that you would have to say that personnel is qualified to do that.
normally our plans examiner, looks at the technical aspects of drawings. Now, if
Is
you
that
come-
Marty?
It would be Marty now, but if you come up against something that is a realm of, technical expertise that he doesn't have, then of course we may have to get an outside engineer or somebody, even if you can't answer the question.
Right, that's true.
So we would have to have the ability to be allowed to go to another outside engineer as on a consulting basis,
Okay.
to confirm.
So yeah, with the and or, then maybe it's, and other professional hired by the village.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
or professional engineer. Says Chris is not very professional. At PE, go ahead.
Well, because
No, it's a good point. I mean,
you're
the-
dealing
the
in areas,
structural.
you're dealing in areas, of highly specific technical, aspects of any given project. You
Mhm.
can't be expected, neither can Marty be expected to, have knowledge of all of that. So just like
Yeah.
we had to hire the hydraulic engineer, for the hillside project down there.
Exactly. I was going
Yeah.
to bring that up. Yeah,
Right, right.
Perfect.
So, but the way it's worded is fine. We really don't have to change it because it just says we'll use somebody who's got the right skills, and Chris is the one who tells us, yes, that person has the right skills.
Right, it's not saying the village engineer, it just has to say somebody acceptable to the village
Yeah.
engineer.
So I don't think there's anything that has to be changed really.
Okay, yeah, good point.
And then Chris, you come up further, like 3 more times down that same page.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's highlighted a number of times.
Just looking, yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
section
what he's
E.
looking at right now.
So yeah, this is the one that gets interesting because they talk about, and this kind of goes to the 5G. If they want to add a facility to one of the strain poles that holds up the traffic signal in the village square, we'd have to figure out if that capacity can handle that pole can handle the capacity. And I don't have the expertise to do those kind of calculations. So we would have to hire somebody outside to do that. So that's something that maybe we use the same language above in B, where a personal acceptable to the village engineer in that viewpoint.
Right, just here,
Yeah.
okay.
So this says, yeah.
So person acceptable to, so we'll make the same comment down here. Is that what you're recommending?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, did you read anything in there about, if we get into situations where we're hiring these people, how are we going to recoup those costs, those fees?
Well, again, this is why the way that it's written today, this Marble Cliff one, is you can actually, you can try and build those in as you go along. But if we go the Dublin route, it's going to be sort of a fixed flat fee. Well, I guess no, the Dublin fee, the application fee looks like it's based on the $2 per linear foot of right-of-way used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I thought I read something in here about, the cost of maintaining the right of ways being somehow calculated.
Oh, and that
could
crazy
be-
calculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right, Bill. Again, that's the annual fee. And then there's the Marble Cliff version also has calculating or recalculating the application fee every year as well too.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
but
And engineering fees can get quite excessive.
yeah. So, but again, I'm going to go back. The Dublin stuff, it sets it for a year, but you can always come back and update it. The way it's written is you can always come back, and if costs go up, you can always, increase those fees.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that is, the easier way to do it as opposed to what this laid out for Frost Brown Todd. You must do that calculation every year and justify it.
That could get arduous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you do it every 3 years.
Well, the way the Dublin one is written, you can do it however frequently you want.
Mhm.
It's open to that. It just says, again, the fees and minimum specified in this section can be modified or adjusted or waived by regulation. And then it just says the fees can't exceed what the total costs are that we collect for this kind of stuff, essentially.
Yeah,
Paraphrasing, obviously.
right.
But, to your point, John, I like, let us, if costs are going up, we do it on whatever frequency we choose is appropriate, I like having that flexibility. It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, whatever we think is.
Right, as opposed to recalculating it every time we turn around.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so then I think the next part is we talked about the room and the right of way. The village must do a yearly analysis of the construction. This is what we want to change. Yeah, sum of all the costs and divide by the number of permits. I think. Oh, okay. So this is their answer for how to come up with the cost of a permit.
Yeah.
The village must do a yearly analysis of all the construction permits, sum all the costs, and divide by the number of permits. So I would vote we do something different other than that.
Yeah.
It's-
Like you said earlier, Chris, we can do it one time and then.
Yeah.
And then revisit it on whatever frequency we want to say, does it still make sense or not?
Sounds good. Once. Then recalc if needed.
and further down that page, one of the times I see fiscal officer referenced that we may want to leave it. and number 8, where it says the fiscal officer may permit a provider to make quarterly payments of construction permit fees based on the provider's financial condition and past payment history. Ugh. Yeah,
I kind of build it back to the building commissioner,
yeah,
because they would be familiar with who's been paying and who hasn't been paying. I
Okay.
imagine utilities usually have a go-to contractor, and if one of the go-to contractors we see 3 or 4 times a year, then that would be the person to
okay,
make that assessment.
okay, noted. I was thinking about giving birth to quintuplets might be a little easier than this.
So the next part, utility engineering study required, I think is that, 94 or 9514.
Yeah.
A.
Mhm.
So I think this is, if they're coming in with a large project that's going to take up a lot of our right-of-way space, I think this is where we can say, hey, prove it to us that you need to take this much space in the right-of-way. I think this would be, it's a utility engineering study consists of a minimum completion of the following tasks, and they list them out. That's A, B, C, and
Okay.
and D. It's reasonable. I don't know if we're ever gonna have the wherewithal to know when to pull this trigger, so to speak. I mean, it's kind of being pulled with the 5G, and I don't think we'll have any other big explosive. I mean, I can't tell what's next going to explode for the utility companies, But-
Again, if we require them to come in with a utility engineering study, we're asking them to come in with one and present it to us. Who's going to review that?
That's a good question.
You
Because
see,
all
we
it
would
says
be
is I
put-
require
we-
it, yeah.
We would be
Right.
put into a position of hiring some equally technical, competent person to review it for us, would we not?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to have the requirement in there, but I'm just saying, we're setting ourselves up, here for a lot of,
Right, well, that's
be a
what you
lot of
told me,
cost.
that's what you told me was okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
But again, to your point, Bill, it's not saying it's not required, number one, and then even if they submit it, we'd still say, Chris, does it make sense to you, in terms of at a high level type of thing?
Well, I want us to have the option, I'm saying we should have the option to do it. I'm just,
Yes.
among us in the discussion here, I'm just trying to point out that we are creating a lot of other things for us to do to
Mhm.
monitor and to institute all of this.
Right.
The potential, to your point earlier, whether, because it says we can request or whatever, right? So.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, right.
right, leaves us the option of requesting.
Yeah, I guess the way I see this playing out is if they come to us for permits, whatnot, we get wind of the project, then council would say, hey, we want to ask for the study, and then you would just ask me to do that, and
Yeah,
I would do it for you, and then we
Yeah.
would get the product
yeah.
and then see what we do with it in stage 2.
Yeah, so to your point, Bill, I think it's great. It's good that we have the flexibility, right? It's again, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not committing us. It's just if requested by the village engineers.
I'm just trying to make us aware that, some additional steps that we'd be creating for ourselves. If we would pull that trigger, that's all I'm saying.
Right, agree.
Next comment I have, I think is the next section, lists out how the village can deny the utility company access. Page 28, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Do you have it? Let's see.
How far farther out is that? From that
If you
section?
want
I just read?
F2, are you on F2? Because, but I got a big question about that paragraph right there.
Okay, well, let's start there then.
F2. I mean,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Village shall have the power to prohibit or limit the placement of new additional facilities within the rights of way. The right of way is full. Let's see.
For who?
That's the question. That goes into the utility study. But, in making such decisions, the village, yeah. So in making such decisions, the village shall strive to the extent possible to accommodate all existing potential users of the rights of way, but shall be guided primarily by considerations of the public health, safety, and welfare, the condition of the rights of way, and the time of year with respect to essential utilities, protection of those existing facilities, the rights of way. It's kind of like if we can let them through, we should. But we do have the ability to say no.
Yeah, but-
but it's very
Yeah, that's
wishy-washy.
very, yeah. Here's my thought on that. These are just a paragraph like this, a section like this. This is not even worth the paper it's written on. And I'm basing this on the response that we got yesterday from PeakNet. Basically, they started that meeting by telling us they own the right of way. They have gold-plated easements, and they pretty much are going to do whatever they goddamn please that they want to do. So we can have it in there. I mean, we can leave it in there, but let's just not get ourselves all excited that somehow this is going to give us some kind of protection against, you know, any of those items listed there. Public safety. What are some of the other things?
Oh, yeah, well,
Public
safety and
interest.
Public
Yeah,
interest.
Safety and welfare, public
Safety,
health,
welfare.
safety, yeah.
Well, again, if we have future plans, it says also here, if we have future plans for that spot to do something else, you know, again, because if we have future plans and they have to move it in the future, it's like, well, might as well get in the right place the first time instead of putting it in the wrong place.
Right. Say, hey, no, in 10 years, we're gonna do this, so you can't do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, who knows in 10 years, but like 2 years, you know, if you said, oh, we're gonna do this in 2 years.
The
I'm
rate
just
we
saying,
go.
we could barely get them to move this stuff away from school.
Hmm.
And that's based on all kinds of objections, you know, not only aesthetics,
Right.
but safety and everything else. It was pretty much, screw you guys. Number one, we're saying it's not dangerous. And number two, you know, we're
Well, of
just
course, they're
saying.
gonna say it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
It's in their best interest to,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but-
and again, you know, without a definitive ruling by the FCC or someone with federal power, then you're just back and forth all the time on that. But, I mean, do we want to change the verbiage on that or just leave it in there as?
I say we just let it alone for the time being because it's part of the, you know, it's part of the document. We don't want to make big changes.
Right.
Here's what I'm suggesting though. I mean, I would like to have a conversation, either myself, I will call up the mayors or the city managers of some of these communities and ask the basic question. Have you guys ever had to put any of this to the test? And what happened? Did any of it work? And I would really like to get a straightforward opinion from Frost Brown. If in their experience, you know, have they had a client that's basically said, hey, look, we need to sort of exercise some of the rights and powers of this document. Were they successfully able to do it? And I'm saying this, guys, because I'm a little concerned here that we're about to spend a boatload of money on this and we're getting a document that may be worth nothing more than the paper it's printed on.
If we can get the fee, we talked about this, Bill. If we can institute the annual fee, it'll pay for itself in less than a year. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's worth more than the piece of paper it's written on. That
If we can institute the annual fee.
it's being instituted in other places.
Well,
These
you know
guys-
what? Until the money comes into the coffers, we don't really have it. And not only that, Rob, okay, so it's a wash. We've paid for their fee, but
And any
what do we
future,
have then? We still have a document that's not worth anything.
again, this is an annual fee, Bill. It's an annual fee. The first year alone, it'll pay for it, no problem. And then every year on top of that's just gravy. Not gravy, but it helps us.
It may put a little money in the bank, but it doesn't really, the document is not going to do anything that we're asking it to do to
So,
protect.
okay, but you know what?
Right away. That's all I'm saying.
Conjecture right now, Bill. I totally agree with your suggestion. Go reach out to some other communities, reach out to Frost Brown Todd, get the data. I totally support that. Instead of sitting here conjecturing about it.
Yeah, well, and again,
I agree.
in general, the fewer changes we make to it, obviously, the less cost it is, but these are Frost Brown Todd's clients, right? Marble Cliff and Dublin are, so I guess we could say to them, have you ever had to put this into play? Has anyone ever, these villages ever approached you and say, hey, we need your help
Right.
with this?
Yep.
And I don't know, but that's a question worth asking. And if we ask the municipality itself, you know, we can certainly do that.
Yeah.
And the third one is Canal Winchester. Ask them too. Give that
Yeah.
one. Give us examples. Although Canal Winchester's not collecting an annual fee like the other two are.
Have we seen Canal Winchester's right away document or just their 5G stuff?
Let me see.
Or small cell, someone backing me?
I don't know if we do have, we may not have the right away. The
Yeah, I
Canal
think we
Winchester
just
stuff-
have the wireless communications guidelines from them.
This Canal Winchester, this definition.
All right, well, we can double check that and then, I don't think we have that, but if, I don't think it's critical that we do
Yep.
spend the money asking for it.
Oh, actually, I take that back. So now Canal Winchester does have an annual collection.
You mean it's in the document?
I haven't, I would have to relook at their document.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mara and Cliff are the ones that looked at in regards to the right of way. I mean, I know we've picked them apart for the 5G stuff. I think that's worth asking. So, anyhow, Marcy,
Wait,
you're looking a little different these days. Kelsey, I could get Kelsey up here. We're gonna have a zoo. Get Tank, Rob.
Every single time I sit in here, she comes and hangs out. This is the first time she's photobombed.
Yeah.
I'm stepping out periodically because I have yet another plumbing emergency at my house, so I'll be back. I'm listening.
My gosh.
Chris, what else you got?
He's what she's got all over.
All right, thanks, Marcy. Okay, back on track.
So this is 29 or 30. The village may remove the utilities equipment if they're not responsive to the village to repair or replace it. But there is a waiting period. So you
Right
find
here.
that.
Yeah.
So it's
So this is 90. Oh my.
94.
95.14. H1. H4 subset 1. Oh my God.
Okay. Got it.
This is why I didn't go to law school. We're under
Yeah.
special exceptions.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
I assume this is the kind of language we would use to ask Duke, hey, your lines are falling down, please replace them. I just wanted to point that out. I think it makes sense. It would be nice to have that ability.
yeah.
yeah. Would have been nice to have that ability before.
Yeah. Sometimes
Or can we ask them if we ask them when they replace their utilities to remove the old utility? Are we able to do that?
Well, let's see, provided, in instances where the village requests removal and or relocation, the village shall waive applicable construction permit fees upon removal and or relocation. But the provider shall restore the rights of way to the same or better condition it was in to said removal or relocation. So say again, John, what you're saying, if they take.
So if they were, if they're going to start, say the water company's coming in with a brand new line, is there any way that we can get them to remove the old line when the new line's put in? Because we have a lot of cable and telephone lines that are underground and old electric that's in the ground that is no longer there. And then when everybody's out digging, because we have the underground utilities, after OOPS marks it, they find this utility and thinking, okay, that's the wire they're talking about. And as they dig down further, then they hit the good wire. Because there's no real depth set by the state of Ohio as far as how depth the utilities have to be. And we don't have a vault that it puts the wiring, phone, cable, all that stuff in. So there's really no shared line whatsoever. Everybody's got their own little area where they want to go.
Right.
Try to match it in there. So and
This
after a
would be-
while, it's going to be kind of crowded with the old stuff and all this new stuff coming.
Right, well, yeah, that would be my concern is, well, we kind of faced that with Homewood. once they broke in there, it's like, oh, look at all this stuff down here.
Right.
Like, what's going on
So
down
it would be
here?
interesting for us to try to enforce this after we pass this legislation, just to see what happens. Because yeah, the industry standard with, especially with water mains, is to abandon the old main in place. And I think unfortunately, a lot of people do that with their utilities. So
Right.
this would be interesting to, if you do
I think,
check.
I mean, it's good to leave it in there, but it could be a nightmare to enforce that, to get them to remove stuff. Look how long
Right.
it took them when they put the new metal poles over there, just to get the old wooden poles out. You know what I mean? It took them
Yes.
almost 2 years to do that.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that could be in a permit fee, is saying, hey, okay, you're gonna replace it. You have X amount of days to get the old stuff out. Yeah, now granted, they had to work with phone company and cable company to get the wiring off and stuff, but that should all been in place prior to them putting that in. Having them say, hey, you got X amount of days to get this out of here, or months. Once these poles are in, you have 3 or 4 months to get out of here, 6 months to get out, But that should be all in the permit.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We could, like for the permit for Petoskey with the gas main, that's only got a year duration. If they go into a second year, we can make them take another permit out for another $200. Or do we write a penalty in there about if you don't
Yeah.
finish the work in the time allotted, it's $100 a day in fees.
Plus
Yeah.
an extent, a new permit, or pay for an
Extend or
extension of the
amended.
permit, amend it, yeah.
Yeah,
But still charge them a penalty for not getting done on time. Not just a new permit, but a penalty for failure to get it done within their time frame.
okay.
You can have it in there, but I tell you, wherever one of those cases goes, it goes to mediation.
Yeah,
And we lose.
And well, you don't necessarily lose, but it's negotiated down, but it's not bad to have it in there. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
It's what happened on this edition. We had a penalty on that.
Oh, yeah, that,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't hurt to have it in there, but,
Yeah, we'll see the effectiveness. It's good.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
Mhm.
Okay.
Next thing I got is K, letter K in this. Just village may fully describe how to repair the right of way. Let's see. So they offer an option here with this, where the permittee may place a bond with the village and have the village perform the restoration. I would like that restricted or removed, because we don't have the ability to replace,
No.
I don't think we should replace.
We'd be busy like crazy.
Yes,
And what one is that, Chris? Under,
it's under K.
okay.
Let me see.
Then you'll hear the utility saying, well, when you guys did it, you did it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
T shall perform the work. Describe the manner. Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Okay, oh, virus,
Because this is also the part, this is good, because this is where it's, again, the restoration is set by
here
us.
it is.
Mhm.
If the permittee fails to restore the rights of way in the manner and to the condition required by the village, the village at its option may do such work. In that event, the permittee shall pay to the village within 30 days of billing the restoration cost of restoring the rights of way, blah, blah, blah. Upon failure to pay, the village may call upon any bond or letter of credit posted by the permittee and/or to pursue any and all legal and equitable remedies. So Chris, you're saying to strike that?
Well,
Or
no,
I'm here.
I believe there's something about before they even get that far about taking a bond out to do the work.
you mean that they have to post a bond
Yeah,
to get,
the permittee may place a bond with the village and have the village perform the work. And sorry, I didn't make a better note of what paragraph number this was, but yeah, here it is, number 3.
Okay,
If village allows a permit to restore the rights of way, the permittee may, at the time of application for construction permit, be required to post a construction bond, an amount submitted to the permittee and detailed cost breakdown to the village engineer for approval that is sufficient to cover the cost of restoring the rights of way to its pre-excavation condition. Let's see. So, okay, that's the bond part. Let's see.
yeah, this is where I noticed about the permittee fails to restore the rights of way, the village may do so. at its option may do such work. Is that
Okay.
maybe what we're looking at?
I think. But, and then they have to post a bond, in that
Mhm.
amount, and if they don't do the work and they don't restore it, then we already have their money.
Money
And
to
we
do
have
it.
an estimate as to what it's gonna cost to restore, and we hire the work done or do it ourselves,
Yeah, well, that, okay.
and,
Maybe that's the better way to,
Yeah.
to word it. Okay.
I mean, it kind of provides an incentive for them to restore it back,
Mhm.
and if you don't do it in a reasonable time period, then, we've already got your money and we're gonna do it ourselves. Or hire it done.
That's what I was gonna say. As long as we've
Yeah.
got the bond money to hire to get it done.
Right,
yeah,
that's the keys, if
That
we
was-
have the money to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so are we making suggestions to change that, or
I think,
a village at its option may do such work? It doesn't say the village has to do the work.
yeah. So if it's a may, we could let it slide.
Yeah.
And then just,
Okay,
we would never do that ourselves, just so you guys know.
Sure.
We would pull the bond and hire somebody to do
Well,
it.
you might, if you want to, you slip in the word, the village or its contractors. I mean, if, you
Oh,
want to
okay.
slip something in.
6? Okay, let's do
It
that.
says we would
Village or
contract
its
the work.
contractor. Okay,
contractor of choice?
Yeah,
that's good.
or its designated contractor, any way to word it.
You just say, you said the village at its option may do the work, may do such work or contract out for it,
Right. Yeah, the next note I have is just about, it should last for 12 months. If it fails before that, then we've got a right to call them up and say, do it again. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, this is another note that just, if it falls within that 12-month time frame, the mayor can send the notice. Something, if you want to have it at that level, that's fine.
Yeah.
Damage to other facilities. This is 31. Yeah, I think we're on the same. The village may
L.
move other owners' facilities in the rights of way if there's a pay scale provided for that, if they're damaged. Yeah, damage to other facilities.
the costs associated therewith will be billed to the provider and paid within 30 days from the date of billing.
Mm.
Again, upon failure to pay, the village may pursue all legal and equitable remedies in the event a provider does not pay. The village may call upon any bond or letter of credit, so forth and so forth.
Yeah. So I see that playing out if a car strikes a utility pole, it crosses it falls on the roadway, and
Yeah.
John's men move it out of the way, we could then bill for that removal if Duke didn't come and take care
Bill
of it.
to the permittee,
Yeah, well, or to the
Or-
utility company.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or Spectrum drills through our sewer to run their cable through
Yeah,
there.
see, that's it. I mean, if they're digging and they cut something, they break something, it's not, they have to. Pay here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't just go, oops,
Yeah, you
sorry,
just can't go, oops.
sorry,
Right,
my bad.
yeah.
That's if you catch them.
We'll
That's-
catch him, John. We'll catch him.
So I think the next section has to do with rights of vacation. So this may come in about the Harvard Street that is being talked about.
Mhm.
Where are you? Oh, right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
M,
So top of page 32, M.
just that it goes back to a Ohio Revised Code 72341.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's acceptable. I just wanted to point it out
Mhm.
since we're going through that.
Mhm.
Let's see. Yeah, got that. Yeah, okay, on 33, I've got it Q, letter Q maybe?
Uh-huh. Undergrounding required,
Right. If most utilities underground and the new facility must be underground as well.
Mhm.
right,
So that's paramount.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. And then, yeah, this minor maintenance permit, these gets into different types of permits. So this would be a new permit that allows maintenance in the utilities facilities in the right of way that does not require construction.
Mhm.
So I guess we would force them to come in for a permit to be minor if they needed to
Yeah,
paint one of the
yeah.
poles
Right.
or something like
Change a
that.
light bulb,
Yeah,
Or any other minor.
right.
yeah, the utility may,
Maintenance type stuff.
Yeah.
right. They may not cut the pavement without seeking additional approval from the village engineer. That could be building commissioner and village engineer, whatever you want for that.
Yeah.
Maybe switch it to the building commissioner. He might see this more than I would.
Where are you?
9515,
A4.
A4.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that,
So
so
there's-
change and or,
Yeah, I would almost reverse it, have the building commissioner and then myself if needed, because the building commissioner is going to see this if they're minor permits a lot more often than I will.
okay. So we'll put the building commissioner as our first line of defense.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and they specify there is no fee for this permit.
Yeah.
So if you're all okay with that. 9516, enforcement of permit obligations. Reasons to deny a permit, no cut on a pavement within, this is 24 months within resurfacing or reconstruction. Let's see. I guess just an FYI, the city of
here.
Cincinnati uses you find the 24, where's the 24 months? Under.
Yeah, under no circumstances will open cutting take place on a newly constructed street within 24 months after construction completion. Or a newly reconstructed street within 24 months of reconstruction completion. Except where?
An emergency happens.
An emergency.
So the 24 months is acceptable. The city of Cincinnati uses 36, whatever, but yes, typically there are always emergencies if they
They're almost
happen.
always an emergency. That's the
Right.
deal. It
Right.
is. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can leave it as is
Yeah.
but it's good to have.
Okay.
Do you see further down that same page, you're referenced a couple more times, Chris, the village engineer?
Mhm.
Okay, let me check.
Here,
And it talks about the village engineer issuing the permit. And that's where I didn't know if it was building commissioner, really.
Yeah, if it's issuing the permit, it probably should be the building commissioner.
where do you see issuing the,
C1 on a discretionary issuance of permit, the one right below that.
oh, okay, got it. Okay, make that change.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think they go right to revoke a permit if there's anything there.
Did I flip too soon?
Let's see. I just have a page, let's see, page 36. I think you're on the right. It should be somewhere in there.
Oh, revocation of permits. Is that
E.
where you mean?
Yeah,
As a privilege, not a right, the village reserves its right to revoke any permit without refunding any fees in the event of a substantial breach of the terms and conditions of any law, provision, or condition of the permit.
We kind of have that with all our permits anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we should
think
leave it
so.
in there, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
if we don't have it, we should have it, yeah.
I mean, that's
Dogs.
Yeah, okay.
Is that worth a piece of paper it's on, Bill?
Well, we already have that. I mean, that's kind of a standard thing, but yeah, I mean,
So that's worth a piece of paper?
yeah, maybe.
Okay, good.
His mouth says one thing, but his head says another.
Just checking.
Let's see.
Yes, it's fine.
So yeah, then I go to construction removal bonds. I think the only thing, they mentioned City of Columbus in there, and I'm not sure
Right.
why.
Well, Franklin County, I think. They said that Franklin
That-
County, which is also where the city of Columbus is in.
Okay, so that's part of, yeah, so maybe there's a countywide thing there.
Yeah.
So we just need to change that.
Hamilton County then?
Yeah,
or-
we don't need city of anything.
And what's a timely manner?
When I said,
Well, I mean, are we gonna put anything on a timely manner? Is it, what's
That's a
the length
good-
of the permit if you don't have it by what's the permit, 12 months?
That's what the Petoskey one was.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wondering, where did that come from? Is that the village's default?
Well, it's
or-
kind of the village's default.
Yeah.
Our standard building permits, I think, are 12 months.
Okay.
And
So
I mean,
where are you?
is that where we're gonna have that? I mean, it's right here, failure to complete construction in a timely manner.
Oh.
Or the failure to correct a condition.
Pursuant to 95.1403. Well, let's go see what that says. Oh my. 90, what is it? 95.14.
Jesus, where is that?
Looking for an O. Looking for an O.
Oh, here,
Wow.
94.
Here, OP, here we go. O3. Okay, so right here, this is what it references on page 32. That's what it's referencing.
Oh, yeah, if the work doesn't conform to the permit.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
is that covered, you think?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
And then, page 38, there's indemnification clauses, which I think are all standard.
Yeah.
Indemnication.
the
and
village does
liability.
not accept liability,
That's
period,
right.
period.
Done. Yeah, and then they've got penalties, I think, at the last thing. I didn't have any more after the liability.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so going forward on that, though, section 95.19, general provisions. On B, it said method of service. Any notice of order to the village fiscal officer, mayor, or village council shall be deemed to be properly served. Again, we want to change fiscal officer to building commissioner.
Mhm.
I agree.
Okay. Who's vacuuming?
Not me.
Piper? Did you let Piper get the vacuum?
I'm
Okay.
on mute.
Okay, then it's not yours. Okay.
I do have the washing machine going on, but
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Mr. Bartlett. Were there other things in here that we didn't cover with Chris that you think are worth addressing?
No, we covered all the stuff that I had.
Yeah. Okay,
Good.
Mr. Mayor? Oh God, here we go.
Well, I've already made my objections known, and I think some of my objections will be easy enough to, run down with some phone
Sure.
calls
Yeah,
and,
agreed,
yeah.
and, right. Okay. John,
We're good.
any additional concerns on your
No,
Part-
not at this time. Not at this time.
stuff?
Don't be bashful,
It's
speak up.
Classic, not at this time. I reserve the right to have some at some other time.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll assert my Fifth Amendment right.
Okay, so we will make the changes, touch base with Jack about replacing the permit fees and auditing with the Dublin document and kind of reducing all the verbiage and calculations in the Marble Cliff document. And Chris, if you'd be so kind to share that list of questions with me, just for, on the
Okay.
record, that'd be very helpful.
No problem.
Okay,
No,
All right.
Every one of those written.
everyone, yes, everyone, copy, give me the
I'll give you the
PDF. I'll
electronic,
I
yeah.
can copy and
Copy
paste
paste.
it, yeah. so,
Everyone.
Everyone, okay, I'll touch base with Jack about making these changes. Billy and I can make some phone calls and see if we need to reconvene to review the new and improved version, which is probably a good idea, which we probably want to do before the next council meeting so that we can have a report, have everything we need so we can move forward with the ordinance.
Well-
Were
Well,
you
again,
gonna say something, Rob?
No, well, again, I think I agree with what you're saying. Let's submit it to the next council meeting. And then once council says, yeah, then the next step is Puco, how do you say it, Chris?
It's Puco.
Puco, yeah.
Yeah,
And then we have to
Puco.
submit to,
Public
Oh,
Utilities
and then-
Commission of Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to be made aware that we are working on an ordinance.
well, and then they allow public comment on it.
Right, for 45 days.
Right. So we can't pass it. So once we give it to PUCO, then we have to wait 45 days before we can pass it. But you're right, let's get it in front of council. So then we can say, yes, submit this to PUCO.
Yeah, right. So
Start
that
that.
will be the recommendation.
Yeah, start that clock
Yeah.
and get it going.
Yeah.
Then we can go ahead and have the first, second, and third reading, and the third reading will be after that 45-day period. So.
Certainly. Okay, good. All right,
Wonderful.
meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blue Egret. Chris, it's your computer. I will give you the honors.
Message from the CDC. You have been recognized as